sir.
Tonight, can you share a little bit about who you are, what you're doing, and whatever else you want to share?
Absolutely. How y'all doing? Hey. Hopefully staying warm, right? So my name is Senait, and I'm an anti-racist community organizer. I organize with Indian Interest Industrial Complex, youth and doing institutional racism, the folks that are fighting the youth jail from being built on 12th and Alder bigger.
Let me say this one quick, I'm sorry. Consequently, that's where I met Pete Holmes.
Say that again.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I came to that, and that's where I met Pete Holmes.
That's real. And so, I've been working a lot with a lot of peers, young people, young folks of color, who understand that, building like another juvenile is basically recommitted to having them locked up for the next 50 years. And so I'm happy to do that work. I also work with the Black Prisoners Caucus, which has now like 7 chapters in the state, and so they're doing their thing and supporting them, and particularly fighting for, there's no parole in the state. And so trying to think about when we did have parole, folks like us, folks that look like us wasn't coming out. And so how are we thinking about another way of bringing people home, and so they have an opportunity to get that second chance, especially at the 15 years down, it's like a whole other person, it's a whole other life. And so this community review board work that we're doing is about establishing like something that is based in our humanity, where we can actually look at folks for what they've been doing, what they accomplished, and bring them home to their families. And so I got a privilege of working with folks now out here in Seattle and Tacoma and Spokane as we're building a statewide campaign to bring a community review board to Washington State. And so I so appreciate being here, because I think about the connection. It's a lot different when it's something that we own, right? Like, I've seen people struggle around police accountability, like 20-some years, and they just hitting walls. But when it's someone like, we got the direct experience, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're not just in there to beg or ask people, what might they give us. We're there to tell them what we want, and we own our own, right? We got our own agency, and I just watched that like melt like butter through all those systems that sit there and, churn the wheels and nothing getting done, because that's not authentic. And so, like, just like what's happening here with Not This Time and the Initiative 873, the work with the No New Jail campaign, the work with the Community Review Board and the Black Prisoners Caucus, is for us, led by us, for us, and benefits all, really. And so, just trying to lift that up. I got some information about that we can share, but just thinking about how do we build our political voices, how do we own that, how do we understand the way that the system normally works, and also understand it's not set up to work for us, so how are we going to work differently? And so we're not doing the same thing that we see play out over and over again. So I'm really
Every time, keep releasing
all
your
right.
message.
Yeah, no.
Share.
I'm just thinking about that, and also part of a political platform called Blackout Washington, and a lot of us that are working on, jail, youth jail, police accountability, whatever it is, we're working on it together. For example, we worked on legal financial obligations. Y'all know what LFOs are? Right? Okay, I know some people know what it is, right? A lot of people don't even understand that whole system of the fines and fees that you get after you got like a felony or gross misdemeanor. They got 12% interest. 17 if you're in Seattle Municipal Court, which I just found out. They're charging 17 in Alliance at the private collection agency. So when they say we ain't got access to money or we're not doing stuff, what is it, when you think about 400,000 people that have got felonies in the state, and you think about that amount of money coming out your pocket every month, 17%? Like, that's a lot, right? That's a lot of money. And so, that's connected to the youth jail. They charge juveniles with that amount as well. You're a kid, ain't got no job, 14, something, they charge you $250 to start. And then, yeah, exactly. And even when you're in prison, if you're down, then you got that, even when you're not making, what do you make, 43 cents an hour?
Just that.
42 cents an hour, right? But they will take out 75% of the stuff that your family puts on your books, like for these LFOs. You know what I'm saying?
What is LFO? What does it mean?
Yeah.
What is LFO?
It's legal financial obligation.
Okay.
So a lot of people think it's just restitution, but it's bigger than that. It's like restitution, and then they got the $500 victim penalty assessment. Then they got court fines and fees. So they charge you for trial by jury. They charge you for appeal. Talk about fair. Do you get a fair thing? my jury, which you deserve, you have to pay for that. You know what I'm saying? If you lose. And they charge you a range of extra charges depending on what your crime is or whatever. So, you know, they're racking up at least 20 stacks on everybody. And that's before you go in. So you add 20 years to that at 12% interest, and then come home, and the first thing your officer asks you to do is, where's the money? I need $10 on these LFOs. Like, it's crazy. It's a cycle. And it's very much connected to, you know, how people are coming home. It's connected to, you know, what our young people are going through, that they're charged that too. You know, so it's a cycle, and I think that when you think about these issues, you can all be like, oh, I worked on this one, or I worked on this one, I worked on this one, but it's all connected. So how you can't just work on one, we got all the issues. Yeah. And so it's around the youth jail, right? I'm gonna, you know, take your lead on it, and we all gonna lean that way when the youth jail comes. But we also gonna have to understand that when I-73 is ready to roll, we lean in that way, right? Because it's like, it's connected, and we're gonna try to build our power in between. We're not gonna sell ourselves out to the first nonprofit that wanna say, oh yeah, we wanna work with you. Or the first advocacy organization says, let us speak for you. You know what I'm saying? Y'all seen what happened with Black Lives Matter? The first thing, and I'm just saying, no shade. First thing the unions did was trying to get all up in with them to say, okay, well, how can we use this so we can push our agenda for $15 an hour? And I'm like, it's not about you though, right? It's really about these young people reclaiming and being unapologetic about being black. They say we should listen to black young people. You know what I mean? Why do we have to speak through a union or speak through a nonprofit agency to be heard? That's not where it's supposed to be. And yeah, exactly. And they withstood that. I mean, I'm like, you know, I just think they set a tone for how it needs to be. And now look at the whole country is different. Like, come on. Like, so, you know, we the proof is in the pudding. And we seeing how it works that one way, and we're not trying to do it that way no more. We're black, we're unapologetic, we're gonna own our own stuff. We're gonna realize our issue is not just about one person, it's about our community. Our families are gonna get well on this. People gotta eat, people gotta get jobs, people gotta get experience. We're gonna do all that, and we're gonna get that policy win. And we're gonna do it because we understand that our power is the real power. And our power and our ability to do that. Sorry, I'm going extra hard. I was like, I can't get a picture. Right on. Well, so yeah, just an invite, I guess, to, you know, our meetings are, like I said, Seattle, Tacoma. I think we're still building. We need to get some sub one on Skyway and Kent for real, because folks out there is like they get hit hard with some things. But we're over at the Village of Hope oh no, this one's actually second and fourth Monday. Yeah, so we're using the space, because they call in, you know, and don't be telling everybody that, because you know you ain't supposed to be having multiple call-ins, so y'all, you know, keep it low. But, you know, we get direction from the brothers and sisters, and Purdy too, Purdy's representing. So brothers and sisters insight about what we need to be doing out here. And, you know, folks that are coming home, they got a place to come to. And we're not just concerned about, oh yeah, let's do this issue, you know, if you need some help, just understand it goes both ways, right? Like, we gonna help you. You need some, you know, food, you need some, like, you can get some housing, we can work it out. But it's reciprocity now. We're not an agency, it's not a volunteer stuff. You gotta put back into it. So if you come and you're real about that and you wanna do work, be there in the second and fourth Mondays, working on this particular community review board and, you know, trying to connect to other things that are going on. And we're in Tacoma now every second and fourth Tuesday. I think Tacoma Urban League, Yakima, like 19th and Yakima, something like that. Every second and fourth Tuesday at 6:30. So if you know people, you know, get them connected. I got some flyers. If you got folks inside that's trying to do work, you know, there's contacts. I couldn't put the names on them, but I can tell you who it is, you know what I mean? Because we can't be advertising the names, so they will shut stuff down in DOC. As soon as they see you got a little agency, a little power, they want to do things. And so that's not going to stop us, but we have connects inside. So, you know, you have somebody that's trying to be positive, doing something real that's inside, you know, connect them in, and I'll let you know who to talk to. And we're going to get it cracking. So just as a good victory in our first year, having consistent lobbying presence in Olympia every Tuesday. First year, we got the bill of legal financial obligation reform we were working on all the way through the House, voted 98 yeses. Actually, no, I'm sorry, that was last year. We got all yeses. There was no no's. We got it unanimously through the House, and then we got it through the Senate, all the way up to the Senate rules. It was the last step. I know advocacy organizations that got $300,000 that do this every year that couldn't get it that far. And so we got it almost to the, you know, final step, to the end. And actually it's interesting because what messed us up, what hemmed us up, were the supposed advocacy groups that were supposed to help. They wanted to compromise. And we were like, we're not compromising, we're gonna get this. Because there was that, you know, because they kind of tried to fall apart at the last second, they were like, oh, we ain't gotta do this. So that was what compromised us in the end. So you gotta be careful who you ally with and make sure that they're on point and really, you know, with what you're saying, because they also, they get money, like they got jobs to do this, they can come every year, they got a budget, we over here, we fundraise our stuff, we carpool, people was in there raising money, 42 cents an hour or not, to pay for cars so we can get down there. So, you know, we put a lot more life into getting down there than they had to, and at the end, you know, they tried to, you know, play that game, but, you know, thank goodness we were there to make sure that the right version of the bill was the one that was gonna go forward. So we almost made it there, but that was 1 year of being us. Is one. And I just think that that's, you know, that's what it is.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Right on.
I always said that, not this time, the C3 part is, you know, we deal with social issues, and I would like after dealing with 873, what happens is it gives us victory and it gives us a lot of political clout and 250,000 plus voter registered individuals that we can then shift and turn and partner with Senait, and which is really a passion of mine about what's been going on in this prison industrial complex. That is the next wall that needs to be tore down. It's horrible, and I just want to go in there. My idea of operating is like she says, she has victories. To get this victory, this major victory, then they have to look at you differently. They have to respect you differently, and then they have to respect the coalition that you've built, because you're bringing everybody, saying that, okay, we've done this, everyone, our 250,000 plus. Now let's go and tackle this. Now, when you're going to tackle that, you're tackling that with a major victory. There is a massive power and influence and excitement and to get the job done. And one by one, knocking these doors down and bringing fairness, equality, here first in Washington, in Seattle, and then across this nation, you know. And I think that's where we're going to go next.
I'm intrigued. I'm a little bit new to, I think, some of the discussion. The one thing I've kind of heard, which I want to specifically ask you, especially in light of the fact that Pete Holmes, is I'd like to know some of the discussion about there is not a request, like you said, but an idea that there should be now a release of all juvenile offenders or something along those lines. And I find that really intriguing because, as you know, it costs to keep people incarcerated. And I'm finding more about the whole prison industrial complex. I've heard from the Tacoma speakers that have been here. What is a possibility that we could get through, you know, your organization, things like that? I know in the past Pete Holmes has, along the lines of marijuana, he's been a big advocate here in Seattle over the years for legalization. And I believe at one time he actually did initiate and impose a legal not law, but he did say the city of Seattle is no longer going to fine or criminalize discretionary authority. I would like to know what the status of Pete Holmes doing a discretionary authority, a blanket just release of, you know, any level of offender crime, just an outright release.
Every level or juvenile?
Again, I don't know about the details. Juvenile, like all juvenile.
I can tell you what's happening with juveniles, and I think this is the hard part, is because it's not just Seattle, right? It's King County really, because King County is holding a we say the names because the names attract different types of parts of our community, but our entire community rallied on this to make sure that the Seattle passed the zero use detention resolution. And so it basically says that, you know, in its lofty goals, like Seattle commits to working towards zero use detention for all juveniles, right? So nobody really should be locked up. We shouldn't be reinvesting in it. It's one of the things to try to hold their feet to the fire, but it's a resolution. And so in that resolution, I think one part of that was that we reclaim $500,000 to redistribute out to our community that's already doing work that's like upstream, right? Not just, you know, let's deal with you after you already been through the system, definitely that, but like not even getting to the system. Like, what does it take? What do we need to not even go there, right? And do community-based solutions. And so that was another announcement that work is just being released. So there's $500,000 of young people. I mean, like younger than 25. You know what I'm saying? Like in their own power, got back to our community. Any one of us can get money right now for the works that we're doing in our community. Not some individual work. So not just like, oh, I got a good idea. I feel like, you know, I'm talking about some work that's accountable. You've been working with some people. You got some, you know, community around you. It was already believing in your motto about what you need to do, what they're doing in Africa Town, what they're doing with the artist program of Creative Justice or Diversion 180, what they're doing with Rainier Beach Restorative Justice, things that are upstream that are doing, you know, building our community up. They're funding $100,000 right now. So that thing just popped off this week, and that was.
Just because I have to leave it, I'm going to interrupt you. With regard to what you were saying about King County, the organization that I'm a part of just yesterday filed a class action lawsuit in Superior Court, and we're bringing
$150 million.
for $150 million, and we're bringing that down. We're bringing that investigation down between now and the middle of February.
How about the group?
The group's called Our Revolution Washington, and it's an offshoot of Our Revolution from Bernie Sanders' campaign. So we're involved in a number of local issues, including IA-73. I've been in support of this ever since I saw Andre speak at Westlake Center how long ago, maybe a month or so ago. Gathered signatures and things like that. And so we held our kickoff not long ago, but basically we're about all issues, and my particular one is class action. And so basically, anybody who wants to be a part of it can be a part of it. In 2014, I was arrested by the Kirkland Police Department and placed into solitary housing up in King County. And a month after being let, so I was in solitary for a month, and after I was let out, I was told that I was being charged with a felony. So long story short, I've been on probation for 2 years, and now yesterday filed this action in Superior Court. So whatever help we can get from y'all to help us in gather information and investigate from King County on down into the city of Seattle, in places like city of Everett, or Snohomish County, but any city within King County falls under the jurisdiction of this class action claim. And the reason why we chose $150 million is because we want to block the bunker. We want to block the North Seattle Police Precinct. And I'm going to be giving a public statement on Friday at 5 o'clock, right in front of the County Correctional Facility on 105th Avenue. So yeah, that's kind of where it's at right now. So any help that we can get, I just gotta get going. I have to. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you for coming.
Oh, and anybody needs to reach out. I don't know how you want to do that, but the website is ourrevoir.com, 2 R's, and you can find us on Facebook.
You have a call, George?
I don't.
Next time, bring some.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
it doesn't, I don't believe the answer to your question about the King County thing is, that they are the ones that are controlling a lot of the juries, and that they're executives out constantly in a place where stuff is getting stuck, right? So this is weird. We're in Martin Luther King County, but every other place in the United States right now is shutting down these prisons. Like, we actually are, for young people, our crime rate has gone down. And so we're building a bigger prison for what, right?
Are you referring to Bunker?
No, I'm actually referring to
juvenile
jail on 12th and Alder.
Yeah.
But it's almost the same argument.
Let me ask you a question. Who are the particular people that we can highlight or that have some type of sway over these things? Who are those people? What are their names? How do we get them involved? How do we bring violence, make them accountable, make them responsible? Who are these people?
Yes. Well, I definitely will lift up Al Constantine, like, primarily. That's a lot where the stuff this is happening
Why?
in the executive
Why is
office.
he saying this? What is his argument?
His argument at this point is that, they already have plans to do this. They voted on it in 2012, and it passed. This is why they're getting the $210 million from, is our property tax levy. Our argument is that if you look at the ballot, which is maybe a good lesson for us in ballot writing, the ballot itself is disingenuous. It said they were building a Children and Family Justice Center. When you hear that, you don't think it's another prison, right? It don't sound like that. It sounds like something good. And so I still haven't run into a person to this day that understood it was that. We actually had a lawsuit in Pierce County just last week trying to challenge the validity of that language in their ballot initiative. And so they're kind of like digging the heels in, you know what I mean? Let's go ahead and move forward. The other piece is that they never, Juby's been messed up. Anybody, I don't know if anybody's ever been in the juvenile court office, right? It's been jacked up for 20 more years since the 80s. So it's always been jacked. They didn't care about it. What they did care about is they got new courtrooms. And courtrooms are needed updated. And they tried to get money just to fix the courtrooms up, but they couldn't. And so they found out if they added detention to it, that pulled them in more dollars, right? So they added that into the package just to get more money for their mega complex that they wanted to build. So it's really not about that. It's like we're talking to them about, what are we? Black kids are like 5% of the population, but like 51% of the folks in jury, right? We talk to them about that, but what they're thinking is like, one, we gotta get these courtrooms up and running, right? Two, they found that they are in the central district, so if they sell off the property around that, they can sell it to developers for big money. Central district right now, gentrification is big money, and that's what they're in the process of trying to do now. We're trying to stop their permitting at the city, right? That's why we passed a resolution so the city would have a reason to say, this is why we can't grant you the permitting to sell these properties, because it contributes to you being in prison, right? But so they're going on an economic argument. So I have a couple of flyers I can give you, which actually have pictures of people.
Give me those. I need those pictures. And
and Al Constantine, you understand how this is connected.
Yeah, well, I get it. So also, what has been done as far as the public's being informed about the public, not people in policy, but the public itself being informed? What are the things, the steps that are being done for people, the public, to be informed about what's going on?
So it's been campaigned since, like I said, 2012, and there has been escalating direct action and community nights, like night of expression, kind of vision that is alerting folks to what's happening with the thing. So the resounding thing is like, we don't want this. We even got the Casey Foundation on a national level to put out a platform saying every municipality that prisons actually gets rewards at a national level. So we got some special brand of stuffness here about like, okay, we just don't go this way. Another thing is, and I'm just saying this, I guess I can say it for y'all, our King County Council and one of our members, Larry Gossett, he rides, but he's also in a position where he was advocating for this prison. And we've had good conversations with him and Larry Evans, and we talked about, our point of view. We went back and forth to the point where they said, you're right, but they feel like it's already happening, so what are they gonna do? And that's another reason why Al Constantine is like, there's civil rights leaders for this, so, we can get away with that.
Let me just say, has there been any news coverage of what we're talking about? There has been?
Look at your campaign. We culminated with a big tribunal. I think it was in 2015. About 1,000 folks came through over 6 hours, and a lot of those folks were in the room. So, you know, you can speak to that, but there's still barriers, right? Go ahead.
So in terms of this youth detention that they want to put together, is this going to be a privately held detention, or is it state-run? What's the entity?
Yes.
The reason why I ask that is because in April of this year, the Obama administration and the Justice Department released information that they will no longer, and they will start phasing out private institutions that are held by two families. One of the reasons mainly is because the procedures that go on in terms of violence inside of there, then also the people are not getting any services. And so now I'm wondering, since the Justice Department is down to remove these families from owning these prison systems and the politicians getting money for continuing, getting help from them, I think that there's a great approach to basically say who's talking to the federal government about this, because every one of those institutions get federal funding. And if there is a private industry that is trying to build this and profit, I think that needs to be exposed. And I think oftentimes, and since you mentioned Mr. Gossip, oftentimes you have these people who actually basically have gotten so far into that they once used to have cause. But at some point they lost it because, see, to continue to get reelected, you have to change your scope. And I think that from the city council on down, and I'll even say this from Bruce Harrell and all the rest of them, whoever sits up there, if they are not serving the people and they begin to serve special interests, they need to go. So if you're voting for the bunker, you're doing all this other little stuff, we got to stop just making it because you're the same color as me. You need to go. That's just my take on it.
I think unfortunately it's public, right? It's our county, and the things that go into this are other public interests. Like there's a school inside, there's an interagency school that was, I don't know why it's school inside prison, but there's a school in there, right? There are there's a network. I'll bring it to y'all next meeting about all the entities that are contributing to this. And there are some of the, I guess the private part would be the private developers, the architects, the contractors, the folks getting money, and the significant amount of money. And so I think it's important to know those parts. We've been hitting a lot on the education piece. We've been hitting a lot on the government piece. We've been hitting a lot on the economic part. When we just started to get momentum around that. And then we also have been hitting the legal side with this lawsuit. So that just happened in Pierce County last week. On the organizing level, what really needs to happen is our babies, like the ones we be like, oh yeah, they ain't paying attention, they stood up. Like they stood up before Black Lives Matter. They were standing up when everybody was like, we can't, what are you talking about? You don't want to youth prison. Like, what are we going to do? You know what I mean? They stood up with that. They held the line. They pushed us to a whole other level of thinking. We got to get behind them. Like, in terms of, like, our elders. And, when I say the legacy of, Larry Gossett, it's not just the only one. And I want to make sure he's not pinpointing to all the people on the King County Council are funky. But that represents, you know what I'm saying? It's a generational thing, right? That's supposed to look at that like, oh, that's my generational person. And, if you say we need a new place, we're going to get a new place. And I'm like, there's going to have to, the mamas and the folks that we're going to have to get up and stand behind these young people they're calling for it. You know what I mean? And there's other plans in place. One thing I will say, the shift in the direction, it was all action, action, action. It was a lot of action. It was a lot of education for our community, more than the politicians. Racism functioning, how it contributed into youth incarceration. We did that, and we still are doing that. But it shifted. Aaron Dixon, the Black Panther, right? So he sat down with us probably around the time in that tribunal, and he was like, "This is powerful stuff." He's like, "Y'all moving us to a place we ain't been there before." He's like, "I want you to think about this." Our lesson learned back then, he's like, we put so much of our energy into destruction, into dismantling, that we didn't know what it was that we were building. What do we want instead? You know what I mean? Because that's the first thing you're going to say is like, well, what do we, you know what I mean? What do we want instead? He said, you need to put 25 of your energy into dismantling and tearing this thing down. You need to put 75% of it into what you're building instead. And so we started doing this process called the People's Plan for Community Justice, which is basically taking four systems that we don't want to be, that ain't serving us right, but that we know we can repurpose as Black folks, right? And, you know, other folks of color, but particularly in our experiences, we get locked up. What is it that we want to see? And so we start focusing on Blackout, building political power, which is kind of where we spun out of. We start focusing on media justice and thinking about the narratives that we're getting about even what's happening when we say no to youth jail, right? We start focusing on building Black spaces, which is how the Black Power Epicenter up on Beacon and Graham came to be. And we start focusing on cooperative economics and this piece around this giving circle. How do we get money and redistribute it back out to our community? But how do we learn from that process to get our own money? We're the #1 givers. Did y'all know that we give the #1 most amount of money? All that philanthropy and stuff. It's no big person in a mansion handing down dollars. We give 51% of the money out that goes to all these causes and things. We do. We ain't got that much money. So we do have that capacity. So the purpose of the Living Project, 30 Black folks are in a circle, and they are figuring out how to get capital back to the community. But that's what I'm figuring out. How do we get on this fundraising thing in our own community so we don't depend on them to give us, you know,
Well, let me ask
dollars
you,
and things.
let me ask you, I might differ a little bit, but I understand the premise, I understand that, but, there's a lot of people, white Americans, Asian Americans, whatever, that also understand, plight, from slavery to the prison slavery, the like that. I think that this is a time like never before to appeal to that awareness in the country. You know, I do believe that it's necessary for me, how I operate, to pull from every part of society, whether Black, whether white, whatever. I believe to pull from all of those people and offer them a way to help. Just because I don't necessarily think that I'm asking you for something. I think that there is a payment due for something, right? And if you do that payment, if you feel the same way, then you might want to offer that payment with your time. You might want to offer that payment with some resources. You might want to offer that payment for the injustices that is done to our people financially, or a connection here, a connection there. But I personally will not push that support and that help away. I can't do it because, you know, the money's all out there. That's where the money is. You know, true enough, we do spend more than anybody, but I think that the country then has some type of obligation for what's happened to our people, you know, and we have to create a way, pleasantly, to allow them to understand that and then say, we want to help in what you guys are doing with that. You know, the way that I brought about not this time is with that idea, you know, because ultimately, I don't have to say that this is a Black movement. I'm a Black man. You know what I'm saying? But then I could be, I could lead. It's important for me to lead and what that leadership looks like. You know, that leadership looks like to me that, albeit I'm a Black man, what does that mean to my community? What does that mean to youngsters that know I come from the streets 20 years ago? And what does that mean to them? How does that look to them? You know, and so I try to, because listen, we're going to have to engage all people everywhere. We don't make up 12, 13% of the population. You know.
Yeah, we don't disagree at all. I think that just in that statement itself is, I think folks will see when they see or read or it's stated, Black-led somehow means that they're losing something. That's how the conditioning works. Is that it's like, oh, that's how we're taught, right? That's how this country got to do what it needs to do. Is that, you know, feeling like if we get something, someone else is going to lose something. And so this is a struggle we're doing, even with the community review board stuff. Is that we're centering in our experience, and it is, though it's grounded in our experience, is multiracial and intergenerational. That we're going to work because it's, we know it's the movement that when we benefit, all benefit, right? Because the oppression was based on dehumanizing us, so everyone can get their humanity back, understanding that. And so then the question becomes, how do we have accountable relationships moving forward? You're right, the systems have a ridiculous having money without merit, right? Without merit. And so, you know, our divestment, when I say, I don't ever say, oh, the city gave us some money. I said, we reclaimed some money, right? Because that's like, you know, understanding it came from us. But that part is important for us to move through. Like everybody, you know, we get it, we talk about it here, but everybody don't necessarily get those messages. And so we are sort of understanding that Black Blood doesn't mean unity for everyone, and that everyone's experience can be held within that. But we also got to just understand the dynamics that we're set up in. You know, the Black Lives Matter says a lot about anti-Black racism, or anti-Blackness. That doesn't just happen in the white community. That happens in every community, and it's passed on. It happens in our community. It's called self-hate, right? And so, in order to get something that we want to have and sustain holding it, we got to be able to address that kind of like mentality, understanding that we can say that and not be ashamed about it. That's what unapologetically Black is. I could sit here and be like, we're doing this, this, and this, and we all go find our ways to move and not have to feel like lesser, like it's going to be something that's lesser of value. And I think that's kind of just comes along with the work. So I think we're in exact agreement that it's going to take a multiracial campaign, because clearly, not just in the state, but period, you know, the money has gone that way. The humanity, the impact, the negative things, people have lost out. You know what I mean? I'm just brother. In Olympia, there's a farm workers day down there that they held, right? And they were doing some powerful organizing. They held a tribunal down there about what was happening with the pesticides that, you know, people and their kids are ingesting every day when they harvest our food. And they were talking about, you know, this history, how they set up, how they're treated on here. I'm just having flashbacks to like everything that happened to us in enslavement. And I wrote a note. I didn't even think about what I was writing, but I wrote a note, and I was like, and I gave them the money that Hope had pulled together for the Black Prisoners Conference. I didn't even have to ask them, because I know they'd be down with this. The money that people had passed the hat around for, I had a lot in my pocket. I put it in an envelope, and I wrote a note, and I was like, you know, because of what happened to us, it established a system that is now abusing you and yours, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm like, you know, we're talking about farm workers, and we were talking about the same plantation system that we came up on. So our liberation is tied together, and we're gonna put this. It's not that much money. We're gonna put this much money into, you know, how we build that. Those are accountable relationships where we can understand both of how that works and move together in a different way. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm with you. I absolutely agree.
I like what you said, because the way I look at it, and I see this whole scope of different colors, and I think that the problem that people find themselves getting into is that the perpetuation of looking at the word race. There's one race, and it's really the human race. And the problem we have is that we have taken melon, and we have made melon the real elephant in the room. So then we say the Black history, the white history. What we have in America is only American history. And it has mistreated a sector of people, all because of melon. Now, let's mind something. Prior to the 1800s, in fact, the 1700s, we know that the word color was not an issue, nor was that word race added. Now, what we do know is this. It was added for a political and a financial reason. Why? Because if I can make this group who's of a particular color different than the group who aren't, then basically I can then control how I mistreat them. And so racism is a commitment to an emotional, unreasonable way of thinking to say that I'm better than this particular group. And it keeps perpetuating itself. No one has to tell a kid, okay, that he's better if he's a white kid. Because see, what happens when you look at the media, when you look at school, especially when they get into about the 3rd grade, you begin to see the differences, and then you begin to live. So I always ask this question: how many white people would love to change and take the spot of the Black person, and we take your spot? Because no one really wants to do that, because you know what? There is a privilege that goes along with this pigmentation. At the same time, we can all come together and say, look, I don't want him to be treated that way, no more than I would want to be treated that way. And that's the real issue of America, because it's not about losing anything, like you said. You're not going to lose power. You're not going to lose control, because really, the people who really have the power, we don't see. But we're just the pawns in the pot. But at the end of the day, if we can really look at racism as an issue that we commit to a way of thinking so that, and this is the last thing I'll say in terms of why it continues to perpetuate in our society, because there is a fear that one day, if I give up my power, then I'll be treated like the people I mistreated. And that's the fear and the perpetuation why it keeps going. Now, I don't believe that that will happen with civilized human beings, but I do believe that we must show our humanity and civilizedness by basically saying, you know what, I'm waking up to the fact that I am no different. And why do I think it's okay to allow a system to continue to oppress people and at the same time say statements like this, and I am done after this. Say, I don't see color. And anybody in here who uses that should get rid of it. You do see color because I see it, you see it, your kids see it, we all see it. And whether it's a red pair of shoes or a black pair of shoes, we see colors. Here's the difference. What we do, reason why we do say that, or we hear people say that, is because we don't want to deal with again, the elephant in the room. Why are we okay with a group of people being mistreated?
Well, let me just say this. I think that racism and all those things was an afterthought of financial gain. I think that slavery was instituted because of financial gain. In other words, wherever there's black oppression, there's somebody white somewhere getting paid a lot of money for it. So I think that's generally why we have what we have. And because that's the system we live in, I think that a lot of white people were indoctrinated, as black people were indoctrinated, to self-hate. Yeah. White people were indoctrinated by that system to then hate so that they can continue to keep that system in order so that they can continue to profit. Right? It's all follow the money. It's always been that from day one. I'll get to your system. So I realize that. I recognize the pain and the agonies that come from that traumatic history. The oppressor has trauma. The oppressed have trauma. Everybody has experienced trauma on both ends of the spectrum. What myself as a black man decided to do, especially with my brother's situation in this murder in the Seattle Police Department, is then to say, what is it that I can do? You know, well, let me say that there's a lot of things going on in the black community around the country. There's a melanin movement. There's a Hebrew Israelite movement. There's a Hotep movement. And conscious movement, you know, that you are God. I'm God. And it's true. It's going on, right? Yeah. So my argument to my own community that if then you believe you are God, can we see the attributes of God? You know, because yes, there's issues going on in our history, but there's a bigger issue going on in our communities that we need to address. I think that my position is to lead and to show through example, because I could sit all day and talk to our people. They're not going to listen. Churches have been talking to us for 40 years, and we've lost generations of our people. What people need to see is an action. They need to see you live something so that they can have something to believe in, right? So I believe that the onus is on us as a leader. I always say, I've said this oftentimes, that if you're a leader and you haven't learned to love beyond your pain, you shouldn't be a leader. Because if you're leading people, you're going to be associated with pain, especially our people. They're going to give you a lot of pain. Yeah. I know it, right? But again, I still have the responsibility to lead, regardless of that pain that they give me, because I know where that pain is coming from, mind you. We are, how did I write it the other day? We were created out of hurt. I was talking to my son, and we was having a conversation on the way here. I hope you don't mind me talking about it. And he was saying how people are. You know, when they see you down, they don't want to talk to you, and you know, and when they see you start coming up, they want to be your friend and all that. He said, I can't stand that. I said, I can't stand it either, son. But be careful that you don't allow their behavior to shape who you are, right? For you then to shut down in your own life and for you to be antisocial, because then you become a creation of your hurt. And so we got to be careful, because us as a people have become a creation of our hurt, right? And so we have excused it, like I said to him, yes, people have been like that from the beginning of the world. You're not going to change it. So what you need to do is realize that that behavior is not going to change so that it will not affect you in your own personality, in your own personal space. That's normal, right? What's not normal is you allowing it to affect you in your personal life. That's abnormal, right? Or you will be a creation of your hurt. Somebody had their hand. This lady here, then Angela.
So I appreciate hearing your call to action and your, there are obviously a lot of people who want to support the work that you're doing. And for me, I'm particularly interested in the political part of the campaign. And it sounds like what you were saying is that it hasn't quite gelled like that, but I'm interested in learning about how we can get involved in helping with signature gathering and what the timeline is and kind of
Well, the C4 is now, this week, we have the C4 and we're going to begin the campaign. Okay? We have a company about a DC that does this all the time, that puts it all together so that we are in compliance. Right? So now starts a whole other level because campaign is, the C4 is much different than the C3.
Yeah.
Right? So we will start to hire signature gatherers, do spots on radio and television, everything else that campaign involving hire signature gatherers. That's just the next level.
And will that be here? Will the campaign office
Yeah, everything will be in Seattle, Washington.
will be here? I mean, in this office, or you're still figuring all that stuff out?
It will be here, and there will be an office here in Seattle. So by the time that Pete Holmes come next week, I'll have all that information for everyone because literally just this week, the C4 is up and running. We had a meeting. Meeting with the directors on Saturday, and we're very excited. It's a big deal. A lot of people are really for it. We're going to get this thing changed. So I'll have all that information for you to come next week or every week in my car. And you next.
I was just thinking about the juvenile situation and the youth that are, seems maybe about 16 to 25 that are kind of doing these call to actions. And have you all sat down and talked about how the youth that are ending up in juvenile, how they get there, and what actions can be taken to help to not go there?
Yeah, both, and some of the folks that are organizing are the youth, yeah, you know what I'm saying? They talk about their own experience.
And do you have direct connection with that are in
Yeah, so there's a couple of ways. Like I said, a lot of folks that have gone through there already and grown up, or that are, just coming in and out, are the youth that are organizing on it. So they are talking about their experiences. A lot of times it's, coming out of school, you know what I'm saying, and like the experience from the teacher. They do a really dope training on it. The experience from how the teacher can be dismissive and push you out of class, all the way to how you get pushed out of school, all the way to truancy, and how the police pick you up, and how things go that way. And there's different stories and different ways that folks go in there. So that is just a part of, their, I call it political education, and they move that through youth and through institutional racism. I think they're going to start meeting again when school starts. They meet every Thursday at 4:30 to, develop that understanding of what just happened today, right? And that's them. They're talking from their own experience, and they can explain it to you exactly how it happens and how it goes down and what contributes to it as they're coming into awareness about it. What's your second question?
Well, and then I'm trying to figure out, okay, so if you, let's say you come up with 5 different specific ways that youth end up coming through the juvenile system, and if you could figure out blocks to each of those 5, or at least 4 of them, or whatever, to stop all the hundreds that are coming that way, and hundreds are coming this way, and maybe only 2 will get through, and only 2 will get,
Yeah.
So those are kind of.
And they've done that work too. I can connect you with some of the things, but some of the examples of that, Rainier Beach Restorative Justice, they just did their first 2 cases. And it's kind of beautiful because they were building infrastructure even when other people were doing their thing, and the other stuff that they were doing fell down and crumbled. Just want to say, don't worry about what everybody else is doing, focus on you, what you're building. other people that they're piloting through the city attorney's office. So they just did their first 2 cases in terms of going through these restorative circles, and they're African centered restorative circles, meaning they're based around our value system, and it's an indigenous practice overall. So that's it is what it is. And then so they've already done 2 cases through that. There's also this thing called creative justice, where 1% of art budget goes to some kind of art thing, right? But they were able to spend this thing called creative justice, which is like a diversion program where you can do your art, poetry, you know what I'm saying, if that's your thing, that's where you want to, create your entrepreneurship. You can get that work done, but it also serves as you being able to not